Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. With me is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, wife Dork.
Do any movies come out this week?
King Arthur.
King Arthur came out yesterday. Oh, I loved
It was so mind-blowing, it blew your mind, it blew the memory out of your mind.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
I have the power.
Wow, and that would be Brad Gullickson, Mouth Dork.
My love.
Excalibur.
And I'm your
He-Man.
host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast, Fistful Friday. TGIFF, MFers.
You know, since it's Friday, that means that my head screening at the Alamo Drafthouse is just right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Are you excited?
I'm stoked.
Are you getting sleep these days in anticipation of this screening?
No, you know I'm not.
Don't do that and then get to the screening and fall asleep.
I will not be able to fall asleep. I'll be so beside myself. I'll be on pins and needles.
Okay, so this Friday, today actually, last Fistful, we had our Fistful of summer anticipation. Brad decided, this week we should take a look at the year so far in review.
I wanted to do a
halfway
fistful of King Arthur movies.
Oh, wait.
But every choice was Excalibur.
Yep.
I like isn't there I like the Disney one?
Yeah,
Sword in the
Meanies?
Stone?
Yeah,
No.
Sword in the Stone.
Excalibur. Suck it, Disney.
I also like the Book of the Sword in the Stone.
No? You mean Once a Future King?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty good.
But Excalibur has
But-
boobs.
Yeah, nobody
there's no
likes
boobs in
Antoine Fuqua as King Arthur.
Brian does.
I've never seen it.
There's a reason. It's
Lies.
garbage.
Brian, you have the digital copy on your phone right now.
He's watching it right now.
Yep. Start off with your number 5 movie of the year thus far.
Okay, it's
Thus.
always kind of difficult to do this.
Stop.
because
How often do you say thus?
I don't know. I've never counted.
Oh.
Every time he says thus, take its shot, guys.
All right.
I say it a lot?
I don't think so.
Does
Say
he?
what a lot.
Thus.
Ha ha! Take a shot!
All right, you're number 5.
Okay, so my top 5 film of the year thus far.
Shot. All right.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and go with this.
Do it.
I'm going to start with a little film that we saw at Lost Weekend 7. Got to get my numbers right.
Yes.
Daniel Blake.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's on my list, but it didn't crack the top 5. But it's on my list. You think Alive and Kicking?
That's a
No.
great one.
That is a great one. That is a great one.
Daniel Blake is good.
But I really responded to Daniel Blake, and I don't know, I like the relationship that we have with Daniel Blake and with the young lady, the single mother. The single mother and her story, it was very devastating and heartbreaking, and even Daniel Blake's story. And then, I mean, there are great uplifting moments. The film is not perfect, but it hit every note that works perfectly for me, and it definitely got me invested into the story and emotionally involved in the story as well. And just a film that I really, really responded to, and I'm interested to see it again to see where it kind of falls at the end of this year. If it will actually make my top 10, maybe not. There's a lot more films to watch, but Daniel Blake was definitely a film that stands out so far this year.
All right, wife Dork, your number 5.
My number 5 was a shock to me in the theater, and I still love this movie, even though I haven't seen it again since the theater, and that is M. Night Shyamalan's Split.
Yeah.
Split.
Good choice.
When I saw the trailer, I was just utterly turned off by it for some reason. I was like, James McAvoy being a goofball. I don't approve. These teenage girls, what a cliche. Let's pick them off one by one. I thought it was going to be like a horror movie. I did not expect it to be like this weird sci-fi fantasy mind trip that it turned out to be. I thought that James McAvoy, in the way he could just utterly change consciousnesses from one scene to the next, and he was so believable, even down to Hedwig, this cheesy boy character who just wants to be loved and get approval, and you know, the diabolical Patricia, and you're going like, you know, you're watching all of the interactions between these characters. I even enjoyed the main teenage.
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya.
Yeah, that's right.
Casey, the character of Casey, and how her character and her background was kind of revealed in such a careful way that when you put the pieces together, you're just utterly shocked and heartbroken. And I don't want to give too much away just in case people have been waiting to see this, but the way her vulnerabilities and what most people would think of as something deeply shameful is considered by James McAvoy's beast to be her strength is just such a trip. It's just such a heartbreaking idea. And it opened up this whole world to me. I had not seen the other related film to this film, and
So we're still not going to spoil the ending.
And
I guess
Brad
we won't.
revealed to me later. And the thing is, I didn't need that. I mean, when the reveal happened, and they're like, "Shyamalan, you got me again. You're back on the saddle, son." I was just like, "Oh, that's fun." You know what I mean? I know what it's referencing, but I don't care. You know?
I think that's the strength of the film, is that it doesn't rely on that quote unquote twist or reveal.
It's still going to go down as the greatest shock I've ever experienced in a movie ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
It truly is. I've never been more surprised, and I was anticipating a surprise.
It will be the biggest shock I've ever been adjacent to in a theater and utterly missed.
I literally jumped out of my seat. It was crazy.
I screamed.
Yeah, I'm glad I was there to witness Brad's reaction. That was awesome. And I think that not only were you, I don't think you were alone in that surprise, Lisa. I think most of the people who saw Split were surprised, not with the reveal of the film, but the fact that, oh shit, M. Night Shyamalan made another good movie, another good film. And I'm so happy. Brad and I had this discussion multiple times, but we're just so happy that, like, how cool is that he's back into the good graces of a very unforgiving movie-going public, especially like when you look on social medias and all the so-called blogs and cinephiles and movie sites and things like that. So to see him have this nice, really cool and worth it comeback story, I think is really exciting.
I think it's awesome, especially because being in the twist business and the reveal business, I mean, like, the risk is so high for that. And to fumble in something like that is, you know, it can be considered unforgivable because you're just going so far out on a limb. Yeah. So I really admire that, and I really enjoyed this film, and that's why it's my number 5 film of the year thus far.
All right, good pick, Brad.
Not when I say it.
Oh, man.
I say it with dignity and sparsely.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. How do I say it?
Constantly. You're never not saying thus.
Shot. All right.
It's like my I Am Groot.
Yep.
Yes.
It's not true, Brian. They're going to give you a complex.
Brad, you're number 5.
This has been, I think, one of the strongest starts to a year I've experienced in a while. Certainly, it's a stronger start to this year than last year. And putting, this list together, honestly, is pretty tough. And I want to put Buster Small Heart in there, and it doesn't quite make it. What does make it is a very unique film for Brad. And I understand, listeners, if this is not on your list.
Oh, shit.
And I'm sorry if you're wrong.
Uh-oh.
But my 5th favorite film of the year so far, and it might go down as like one of my favorite movie-going experiences of the year, was seeing Resident Evil: The Final Chapter.
Yeah, I was there for that too.
Writing for Film School Rejects has been a total blast, and I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to take an entire month out of their schedule to write a review of every single Resident Evil movie. But once I went down that path, once I committed, once I pitched that concept to FSR, and they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. Writing about each film week after week, this was a series that I really did enjoy, and before 2017, I championed and I rooted for this. And when people say, like, there's never been a good video game movie, I'm like, wrong! There's been 5 of them! I recognize that I'm in the minority and that these are 6 films of varying degrees of quality. But they all come from one mind, even when they're not all directed by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
It is a singular vision that is confused over the course of its production. It backtracks on itself quite a bit.
Yeah.
But that, for me, adds to its B-movie charm.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil: The Final Chapter truly does send off that series on a perfect note. And it manages to reference and play off of the plots of the previous entries, and bring back old characters in wonderful ways. And Mila Jovovich as Alice truly kicks ass. And Paul W.S. Anderson attempts something very different for his last film. He the Jason Bournification of the franchise happens in the last entry. It's really weird, but cool. I'm down for it. And I loved it, and I loved. That's, humble brag time, not so humble brag time, that Sony reached out to me halfway through my article series and said, look, we're not doing reviews for this movie, but we'll let you do it because you're obviously crazy. So as long as you can gather like 100 people together for a screening, we'll make it happen for you. And I was like, shit, I'll make that happen. Yeah. Tweet that shit. And it was wonderful. It was super, super cool.
It's cool.
It was fun. It was fun to be there and watch Brad have everything come full circle from his initial love of that franchise, the Itmod versus the Resident Evil versus Underworld discussion that you and him had, him writing those articles, Sony reaching out to him, and then just to be sitting in that theater with him and to watch his excitement. It was akin to when I'm in the theater and he's sitting next to me and we're getting ready to screen Fury Road again. Like, he was really excited, and we had a good time with the film. Like, I really had fun with that experience with him. So,
and I've never been sold on the films, and you made a fan out of me. I picked up the box set, and I'm going to get Final Chapter next week when it comes out. So
yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm not going to lie. There's part of me who's like, I hope there's a Film School Rejects quote on the back of that box, and then I could die.
Yeah. All right, good pick. So my number 5. So I'm doing something a little different because, to be honest, I pulled a Brian. I wasn't actually prepared for recording this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, since we're conveniently 5 months into the year, I'm just going to go start with January for my 5, then February for my number 4, and so on until we get to today, to May. So for number 5, I'm going to start with January. The film, my favorite film or screening in the month of January out of all the films that I've seen,
Resident Evil Final Chapter. I knew you were with me.
No, because I'm a student of Bruce Lee, and I'm one who is always for maintaining balance in the universe. I'm going to say, and I'm not just saying this because it's a nice counterpoint or to be funny, but and we've had this discussion. But my favorite screening in January, oddly enough, was Underworld Blood Wars.
Wow.
And again, a screening that I think it also helped that I watched that with Brad. But Brad, I mean, you can attest, like, I genuinely had a good time watching that film.
We both did.
That movie was nuts. And
way better than the last one.
Yeah, and so
I agree.
If you listen to the podcast, you would know, like,
I do agree.
I was never really a fan of that franchise. But I got to say, like, for a good time at the movies, a good hour and a half, with a nice little popcorn flick, it really did the job. It hit the spot, like I was going to say Selena, but Kate Beckinsale as Mila Jovovich owns her character in Resident Evil. Kate Beckinsale is this
Beckinsale.
Beckinsale. Sorry, Beckinsale. Yeah, see, that's how much of a fan I am. Yeah, she is this character, and so you can see that her spending this much time with the franchise and with this character, she is nothing but comfortable. I don't know if figuratively or literally if she's comfortable in that skin tight suit, but you can tell she is comfortable in this character and performing this role and these stunts and this action. And the storyline was okay and it was goofy, but there was some really cool and hardcore violence in it. Like she yanks this dude's spine out of his ass, out of his back, and the skull attached. Like it was some really
Finish him.
Mortal Kombat shit. Yeah. So again, it was a fun time at the movie theater, and this was a month where I saw. Was it? Did I see Split in January?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw Split in January, but I'm not counting that one because I saw that one last year, so it's not the cheat. This was the second best experience I had in the theater to Split. Number 5, Underworld Blood Wars. Brian, you're number 4.
All right, so my number 4, to piggyback off of Lisa's number 5, is Split.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that you said. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, even though M. Night has already spoiled it on Twitter. But the ending is just absolutely fantastic, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But just with the movie in general, just the way he's able to kind of set up all of these different characters, the performances by James McAvoy, like you said, Lisa, the way he's able to portray these 23 personalities and to make it believable, and just the idea of these 23 personalities fighting for that position in the light. And it's crazy because M. Night did a contest where he had some fans do fan art of the 23 personalities, and it's some tremendous looking fan art when you see like these personalities that are fighting to get into the light, almost getting an inside look at like what his mind is kind of like going through inside. I don't know, it's just crazy, just this whole story and how he kind of constructed this story with the 3 girls, with the character of Casey, and telling her backstory and how her backstory kind of plays into the narrative of the film. Just absolutely fantastic, and it's definitely one of the best of the year so far. Hopefully it'll be there at the end of the year, so we'll see. But yeah, Splits, that's my number 4.
Lisa, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Nacho Vigalando's
That guy.
Vigalando's Colossal.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this
I'm so
film.
glad.
Such a bizarre concept that can be potentially so cheesy and over the top, but ultimately becomes this really heartfelt story about taking personal responsibility for your actions.
Yes.
And also getting out from under controlling relationships and destructive life patterns. Mm-hmm. I loved Anne Hathaway in the role of Gloria. I thought she was so pathetic. She started the film so utterly pathetic. And then when she discovers the destruction that she is bringing about in the world, she really wants to redeem herself, and she wants to, undo the harm that she's done, or at least stop it. Mm-hmm. And Jason Sudeikis as Oscar, who in the beginning of the film is like so sympathetic, and I'm going like, Gloria and Oscar forever. They're so sweet, and then he turns out to be this.
Don't spoil it.
Bad dude who has utter, complete disregard for human life, and he feels like the world is just taking a big dump on him, so why not take a big dump on the world? Mm-hmm. Totally, there was the risk of people hyping it up too much. Of people going, you're gonna love this movie, but I legit loved it. Yeah. I couldn't even spite hate it. Yeah. Because that's how good it was. Yes. So thank you. And that's why Colossal's my number 4.
Yeah. Brad, your number 4.
My number 4 is another horror film that I was looking forward to, but not anticipating in any kind of feverish way.
Baba Man?
What?
The Bye Bye Man?
Yeah, it was the Bye Bye Man. My number 4 is the Bye Bye Man.
I knew it.
If that's not the last time we talk about the Bye Bye Man, it'll be too damn soon. Anyway, no, my number 4 is A Cure for Wellness, the Gore Verbinski movie. Definitely amongst our group, it's been a divisive conversation. Maybe not necessarily within ItMod, but within our film club community. But I really appreciated it that the film starts off as one particular type of tension-filled horror film and eventually graduates to a very B-movie Vincent Price headspace. And when it got to there in its climax, I was just absolutely delightfully charmed by it. And I had to go home and watch a bunch of Vincent Price movies. And Dane DeHaan is a guy that I've struggled with, where, when people are talking about how much they love him in Chronicle or other movies, Metallica Through the Never, Amazing Spider-Man 2, he's never clicked with me, but he is so perfectly douchey as this investment law firm, Wall Street, muckety-muck jerk hole. That when things start to get wet for him, I really enjoyed watching him squirm. And Gore Verbinski doesn't make short films. It's a long movie. It takes its time. But it is a beautiful looking movie. Verbinski is certainly having a lot of fun playing with reflection in this film as he's shooting it. But man, it's so delightfully B-movie.
Yeah.
Love your B movies.
I love my B movies.
All right. My number 4, in a month that also saw A Cure for Wellness, the Lego Batman film, which I love, John Wick Chapter 2, The Wall, and Collide. I'm going to have to say my favorite experience in the theater in February is from a film that I feel, for me, is important, and it is Jordan Peele's Get Out. Speaking of horror films, and it's a film that is beloved here at ItModcast. We have had review episodes for that. We have many discussions talking about the merits of that film and everything Jordan Peele was able to pull off in his directorial debut, and looking at true, genuine horror and that resides in our society today, and it's have been in our society for years. And just the performances all across the board are stellar. Jordan Peele's hand is very assured in his directorial debut as far as directing, and I mean, you wouldn't know it if you weren't privy to it, the information that this was his first film. But not only is it a stylishly shot and not overly stylish, but it's well suited for the story that it's told and the way that it's shot. But just the tone that Jordan Peele is able to establish in sync with the performances that he's coaxing from his actors, and the subcontext that's in the film and what it speaks to regarding our relevant issues today in our society regarding race relations, relationships with authority and police, and yeah, it's just a relevant picture, and one that you wouldn't expect from a horror film today, especially in when we have the films the likes of like the Bye Bye Man and Ouija, Origin of Evil, and the fourth Insidious. We have a horror film of our times that speaks to and of our time, and I think that that's very important today. And hopefully, I'm hoping that it rightfully launches Jordan Peele's career to a trajectory where he is able to tell more stories that are personal to him and important to him, because it turns out they are important and can be important to all of us. So that's my number 4, Get Out. Brian, your number 3.
Well, my number 3, following again after Lisa, is Colossal. Colossal, a movie that we saw again at Lost Weekend. Thank you, Lost Weekend, for providing some of my favorite films of the years thus far.
Shot.
But it's funny though, Colossal, like we talked about, Brad, when we I think it was last when we talked about Slight, not Slate.
Yeah.
Slight. About how we have these new fresh takes on genre films, where Slight is a new take on like the superhero genre, and with a movie like Colossal, this is a new look, a fresh take on like the giant monster films, the kaiju films, and something that we haven't really seen prior. And like you said, Darren, like there's no other movie that we've seen like this before. But it's a movie that fits right within that genre of the kaiju films. And that's exciting for somebody to be able to make a film like this. And again, I talked about it before at Lost Weekend, the character of Gloria, played by Anne Hathaway, and just to see her arc throughout the film, from when we see her in that first scene to basically the hero's journey from where we see her at the end of that film, the irreverent humor that we get throughout the film as well, and how poignant a lot of those character moments are, and how relevant just the relationships between the characters and how that plays, like you say, in the far-reaching effects over in Soul. Just a very smart, intelligent, and just a great film. It's a really good film, and I'm excited to really just kind of go back and revisit Colossal, because again, the first time watching it, for me personally, it's a movie that I had to sit with for a minute to really kind of grasp what this movie was really trying to tell me. But I think on my second watch, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. But it's definitely one of the best of the year so far. I absolutely love the film.
All right, Wife Dork, what's your number 3?
My number 3 was also something that I watched at Lost Weekend 7, and it is Girl with All the Gifts.
Yay!
I loved this movie.
I just watched it last night.
I'm noticing a trend in my split sci-fi, colossal sci-fi. Girl with All the Gifts, sci-fi. But they're all 3 movies with a lot of heart and a lot of character work.
Yes.
So with Girl with All of the Gifts, I utterly loved our protagonist, the little girl, Sienna Nanua, Melanie. Mm-hmm. She had the perfect balance of intelligence and innocence that made her so endearing and strong. Mm-hmm. You knew that she could take care of herself, and how she cared for the people who essentially were more or less holding her prisoner. Yeah. Mm-hmm. for her entire childhood. Yeah. And I feel like this takes the apocalypse zombie film a different direction than I've ever seen before. And the climax of which has been touched on in other apocalypse films, but not the same way. And I just found it just really refreshing and really scary and tense. But I found myself loving and sympathizing with everyone. There's literally no bad guys in this film. I could put myself in anyone's shoes and say, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where you're coming from, and everybody is just making the best out of a shit situation. But I do ultimately think that at the end of the movie, things turn out in the most just way possible. Mm-hmm. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, I mean, at Darren's recommendation, goddamn, take my recommendation and watch this fucking movie, because it is so good. It is beautiful. I just loved it. I loved it. So that's why it's my number 3.
Yes. Thank you, Lisa. Brad, your number 3.
Well, you can take my recommendation too, because Girl with All the Gifts is my number 3.
Yes.
Nice. Everything that Lisa stated. I would also say that it does have a lot more on its mind too socially.
Yes.
Kind of, it touches on topics that Get Out touches on. Mm-hmm. It from a genre piece, it does explore similar territory that you've seen in other films, but I think a lot of what makes Girl with All the Gifts special is the way it is crafted, the way it ekes out its information over the course of its journey. And I mean, that ending it's one of those endings where when you get to it, you're like, yep, that's the only way it could have gone, and I should have seen it coming, but yet I'm still surprised. That is a perfect ending. It completely sticks.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think for the story it's telling, there is a wrong turn at any point. I really do. I feel like it's a perfect movie for what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I love to hear people love The Girl with All the Gifts. Just recently watched that. For my number 3, now the month of March is when we went to the most recent Lost Weekend, and if you've listened to the podcast, you know we saw a tremendous amount of films there, 23 to be exact, and a lot of those films struck a chord with myself as well as the rest of the dorks here. And I rewatched The Girl with All the Gifts there, and also Colossal there. But because I've seen those films last year, I'm not going to put that on. I don't think that they qualify for one of my picks. So, of all the films that I haven't seen before that I saw in March, my number 3 is going to also come out of Lost Weekend, and oddly enough, it's Personal Shopper.
Yeah,
that film has stuck with me in a way that few of the other films have. And I think the reason why I'm going to go with it as my pick is because I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I've not been shy about my fandom of Kristen Stewart and her post-Twilight career and career choices. And, for me, this has just been the next logical evolutional step in her career. And she has matured as an actor, and I really enjoy watching her handle this material that also is like Colossal and The Girl with All the Gifts, is unconventional in the story that it's telling. It's about a personal shopper of a socialite or someone who's popular, but then there's a ghost story woven into that. Turns out it's not really about just the life of a personal shopper, but it's about a ghost story, and that's something I wasn't expecting. And then the way that story unfolds, and then the questions and possible answers that are there if you see them, that the film leaves you with, I found infinitely fascinating. And again, so profound that I to this day, I still go back in my mind and revisit that film from time to time. So I think that's very indicative of how much it touched me.
Such a strange watch, because the ghost story element comes in pretty early on,
right?
And it's so matter of fact. But the way that the supernatural elements dip into some really scary elements, or the supernatural elements where they dip into scary territory, it gives me genuine chills. Yeah, thinking about some of those scenes. Yeah, and I don't think I've been more scared in a movie than when watching Personal Shopper this year.
That's interesting. But I agree. It's a film that just from the outset it establishes a certain mood and unease, and it just permeates the rest of the film. And I really appreciate that, and I appreciate how Kristen Stewart is able to navigate her way through that unease and also benefit from it, and also add to it with her performance. She's just, enough can't be spoken about her performance in the film. She obviously, I think that the concept of the film, it would fall flat if you did not buy into or connect with or agree to go along with this story with Kristen Stewart, and her performance sells that. So yeah, that's my number 3, Personal Shopper. Brian, your number 2.
My number 2. Oh man, this brings me so much joy. This shouldn't be a surprise, but it might be a surprise. My most anticipated of this year is my second favorite movie of this year. No, Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, that's your number 2.
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
What? I think that was your number 1. Okay, I'm excited now.
No. There's another movie that I just absolutely love. But Power Rangers, I mean, this is so weird. Like, we talk about fandom and the stuff that we love, that we adore. I grew up on, of course, Ninja Turtles. That's why I am the Turtle Dork. And Power Rangers. And Turtles has let me down. As much as I want to be in denial of, those movies and them being good, the Michael Bay produced films did not live up to my anticipation and what I wanted out of a new rendition of the Turtles. But with Power Rangers, although it is not a perfect film, it is pretty damn close to everything that I wanted from a new reimagining from the Power Rangers. I have no complaints, like genuinely no complaints from anything in this film that I absolutely wanted. I wasn't let down by anything, and I can honestly say that this movie lived up to the hype for myself. It lived up to everything that I wanted from a Power Rangers film. It gave depth to characters that I grew up with, that I grew to love and enjoy, and it just deepened those characterizations of those characters. I got that sense of family, that sense of camaraderie, and I root for this film. It's being released in China this weekend. I'm hoping it does well.
Damn, theatrically, it hadn't come out yet?
No, May 12th, and it doesn't get released in Japan until July 15th. So I don't know why they spread out the release dates, but I'm hoping it does well because I want to see more movies with this cast. I want to see sequels. I need to see the Green Ranger. It just lives up to everything that I wanted, and it just fills me with so much joy. Turtles let me down. You let me down. But Power Rangers, you brought me back up. So it's my number 2.
All right, Wife Dork, your number 2.
My number 2 is Get Out.
Yay!
I loved Get Out. I think the fact that this is Jordan Peele's first feature film blows my mind. I think that it reveals that he's a very considerate and considered storyteller. You can tell that he has not just watched a million bajillion movies, but he has studied a million bajillion movies. Yeah. And his just on-screen vocabulary that he uses to get a story across, to build suspense, is just astounding. And I think part of that does come from the comedy background, because to create comedy, you have to... Laughter, like fear, is an involuntary response. And the idea to... And it's also the result of the creation and release of tension. So whether you find yourself laughing or screaming or your hair standing on end from something that is, not real, it's on the screen, it's art in its highest form. Mm-hmm. And it's an absolutely amazing film. I love how it approaches the subject of race, which is so hard to discuss sometimes. And it does the sci-fi thing of saying, we have to take this story to 11 to make us realize that we are at 10, and that the subject matter is urgent and it needs to be addressed. And I think it brings a level of urgency that is necessary, and also captivating. It's a very captivating story. I think I love the pairing of Daniel Kaluuya and Allison Williams, because in the beginning of the story, like, they just seem like such a cute and sweet couple, and you just look at her going, oh, she is so, she's so naive, but she's doing the best that she can.
Yeah.
And then when the reveal of her character is unfurled, it is bone-chilling and terrifying. Also, with her family, her parents played by Catherine Keener and Bradley Whitford, where it's just they're very that two-facedness, that where you find yourself laughing until you're crying. You know what I mean? And not the good way, crying, sad crying.
That scene between Catherine Keener and Daniel Kaluuya is still one of my favorite scenes in a movie theater this year.
Hypnotism scene?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. And the way it like when he ultimately does get, trapped. Yep. So scary. Yep. And something that anyone can identify with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think that it's an extremely well done story. I think that it's a movie that begs to be returned to, where sometimes, like with some genre films, you're like, I get it, that's good, I enjoyed the film, but I never need to see it again. This is one that warrants watching and rewatching. Yeah. So, I can't wait to see where Jordan Peele decides to go next. I can't wait to see where Daniel Kaluuya goes next, because
Black Panther.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So excited, so excited. But the character of Chris Washington, the photographer, and I don't know, it's just great. It's just a great fucking film, and that's why Get Out is my number 2.
Yeah,
number 2.
Brad, your number 2.
My number 2 is Colossal.
Yay!
Nacho Villagando's kaiju epic. As much fun as I have watching this film play out, I also find it to be tremendously sad and painful. She is in such a low place, and Oscar is in such a low place, and just two pathetic barfly creatures colliding in this town, which results in so much devastation and death from afar, impersonal wreckage, that while I was so excited to see the parts come together, the more I watch this film, and I've seen it several times now, the sadder I am during its presentation. And I really appreciate what Nacho is sowing in this film. Yeah. It's really powerful cinema. It's what genre should do all the time. Like what you're saying when you talk about Get Out. Yeah. Yes, I love B movies. Yes, I love, Cure for Wellness and Resident Evil and all that stuff. But, Girl with All the Gifts, Colossal, Get Out, they're delving deeper ideas, and to use Lisa's word, necessary ideas. And yeah, just, it's got a lot on its mind. I love that.
There's nothing better than a film that you feel like you need. Mm-hmm. And, we've gotten several of those films recently. So, I'm grateful as a moviegoer for that, from the art form. My number 2 in the month of April,
Fate of the Furious?
Fate of the Furious.
Oh, shit.
So initially I had not come around to it. Psych, fuck you. Justice for Han. My number 2 is Your Name. That's the anime film that I saw in the month of April, theatrically, and it was a very unique story with some very engaging and endearing characters. There's this impending cataclysm that's going to happen, and there are these two, I don't want to say star-crossed lovers because they don't really meet, but they're these two people in two separate places, and through some unexplained phenomenon, they randomly switch bodies over a period of time, and they go through their a period of their lives living in each other's bodies randomly, and each time they're learning more and more about themselves. It's kind of like that aspect of Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. It's that aspect of every time he comes back, he takes what he learned from the last time and he applies that to kind of, get a little bit further. And there's something similar happening in that regard, in which every time they swap back to each other's bodies, they take what they learned from the last experience in their body, and they use that to further their relationships with the people around them. And then some other interesting things happen. And at one point, they decide that they want to meet the other person. They want to meet each other. And they try to make that happen. And the story goes in some unexpected directions. But how that story unfolds and wraps up at the end was immensely satisfying. And I was not expecting to be that engaged and touched by a Japanese animated film that doesn't feature, and this is one of the things that I talked to Brad about when I try to recommend titles to him, like Tokyo Godfather, titles that don't feature fighting or violence or robots or scantily clad girls or anything like that, fan service. But it's a straight up dramatic piece with lighthearted moments, but with tremendous heart. And I could easily see this being adapted to a live action feature, but I somehow don't think that it would have the same impact, because there's a beauty to the animation and the art that is on display here, that coupled with the story and the characters, that make it something totally special. And so, yeah, it's my favorite screening next to Fast 8 in April. It's Your Name. Brian, you're number one. I kind of spoiled it. It's saying it's Fast 8, but go ahead. You can repeat it.
No, my number one disappointed movie of the year? Okay. Actually, my number one, following again after Lisa, is Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Yeah.
This is absolutely my favorite film of the year so far. I mean, everything that you guys have said already, but the fact that Jordan Peele can make a film that's socially relevant and very timely, and to be able to do that wrapped in a genre film that's exciting, that's engaging, that's funny, and that's scary, that's a testament to him as a director. And then just his attention to detail, not just with character, but just with the filmmaking and the narrative of the movie itself, like the use of music, the idea of the sunken place, and what that means to, like, as people always say, hashtag stay woke. The idea with characters, with the maid, and when you see that one scene when he comes in and says he unplugged her phone, and he's talking to her, and like when she's saying like no, and you see the tear coming out, like you see that's the person trying to come through from the sunken place. And these are things that you kind of pick up on rewatch. And like you say, Darren, that comes from somebody that has an assured hand as a director, and for him to be a first-time director and to have that much attention to detail
and writing the story and crafting the story.
Absolutely. It just blows my mind that he was able to really craft a film like this. And to be able to have all these different themes that really resonate, not just with people of the black culture, but people in general that can identify with just, whether it's social class, economical class. He's really speaking to a lot of different things. And I said this in my review that I put up on YouTube. Like, I put this up with a lot of the best debuts that I've seen. You talk about Tarantino with Reservoir Dogs, or even Rodriguez with El Mariachi, or John Singleton with Boys in the Hood. Like, these directors that come out with their debut films, and they really just they make a mark. These debut films, like almost like a benchmark in cinema. And I think Get Out is going to be another one of those benchmarks that people are going to look at 10, 15 years from now. And like you say, if Jordan Peele is able to still carve out a substantial career for himself to continue to make these small films, these social thrillers, this is going to be exciting to watch. Get Out is it's hands down the best film of the year so far.
Yep. All right.
I think it's because, directors like that, their first film isn't 1 year in the making or 5 years in the making. You can tell that his film is however old he is. How old do you think Jordan Peele is? I could have Googled it.
75 years old.
This film was 75 years in the making.
Yeah.
He's been crafting this film, if not literally, just in the way he observes story in his life, yeah. and it translates to the screen impeccably.
Not even the creation of the film itself taking all that time, but like you mentioned, him being a comedian and him growing and better in his craft and using that to apply that to storytelling as well, and infusing his skill as a comedian and the joke and the setup and the punch.
There's so much a Key and Peele in Get Out.
Yeah, if you just go back and watch any of his the sketches from the Key and Peele show, you can find a lot of the tone of Get Out in many of those sketches.
In fact, I can't watch many of those sketches because they're too emotionally intense for me, I end up crying.
They are.
But yeah, that's his skill on display. So yeah, all right, good pick. Wife Dork.
Yes.
I just need to know one thing.
Yes.
What is your number one film thus far? Shots.
Is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I know I just saw it, and I'm totally riding high on it, but it was one of those things where I was super anticipating this movie, and it completely fulfilled everything I wanted it to fulfill. It left me exactly where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
It played up for me what I find fun and exciting and engaging about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the music.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I'm running out of steam with my podcasting, but I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Really good.
Thank you. All right,
Yeah.
Brad, your number one film so far of 2017.
So far, my number one film of 2017 is Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Yeah.
For everything that we've talked about, it's I think the one movie that's on all of our lists.
Yeah.
It's a miracle of tone. It's a balancing act that is executed masterfully, and it's an incredibly angry movie. It's a profoundly moving movie. It's the type of ending that while I was watching it, it could have gone another way, and part of me when the film finished, I thought, oh, maybe it should have gone the way I thought it was going, but the fact that it doesn't, and it played on my expectation of how I thought it was going to, makes it even better. When that cop car shows up, you think, oh, it's oh shit, it's happening this, and then when it doesn't, it shows you really your surprise, your relief, shows you how fucked up this country is, and that is brilliant, angry filmmaking.
Yeah, it's weird. Like Jordan Peele, he understands his audience. You really feel that, because like you say, like when you have those moments and the way the crowd reacts to those moments, like you said, it sheds a light on where we are now in this country. And Jordan Peele is like, he understands. He understands the climate of his audience, and I think that's something that's a testament to.
But I also think, yes, I think he knows how to manipulate an audience, play an audience, tell a story to an audience. But I think it's also just him. I mean, that's the story he wanted to tell. Even if we didn't want it, even if we didn't need it, that's his story through and through. And I think that's why it does rank up there with those films you mentioned. In fact, I would say it's better than several of those films you mentioned.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a special movie.
Yeah.
All right, my number one film, since that brings us to the current month, really the only two outside of rewatches that I've had. We just saw Kung Fu Hustle. That was dope, of course. It was rad. And the only other things that's come out since we're so early in the month of May is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and King Arthur, which we just saw. But I kind of feel like I need to see King Arthur again.
Oh, really?
Before I can make a definitive, before I can put it on my list. So I'm going to have to go kind of by default, but not, it's kind of doing the film injustice to say by default. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is really a great film, especially having just had the conversation about it for our review cast. As always, when we have conversations about films that we watch, especially with this immediate group here, it does help me it does offer me different perspective, but also allows me time to reflect cerebrally about the film that I saw and to examine and check my emotions regarding my experience. And so in doing that, it was able to shine a light on the film in hindsight that I really did enjoy the film. Not that I doubted my enjoyment of it, but again, having that conversation really solidified and to go beat by beat and point out the specific points and the touches of character and heart and the story and the attention to those characters and where we left them in Volume 1 to where we are in Volume 2 and where they could potentially go in Volume 3. And James Gunn's his love and affinity for those characters coming through on the screens, and talking about that just really solidified that I really did have a good time with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and I think I like it better than the first one.
Yeah.
I got to go back and rewatch the first one now, but the first one has nowhere near the amount of heart that the second one has. And the first one does have heart. Like, you do get some really good moments with characters in the first film, but the second one just trumps it across the board.
Well, to me, I feel like it carries the love over. So it,
that's how I feel.
Builds on the love of the last film, so that ultimately I just feel more love. It's like a love snowball that's rolling down the hill.
After watching it, I re-ranked all the Marvel movies. Lisa and I just rewatched all 15 of them.
Yeah,
I slept through like 9 of them. So if you're checking my letterbox and going like Brad's a liar, it's just that I don't. If I sleep through 70% of the movie, I don't rank it.
Let me guess, The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I think I stayed up for that.
When you did, but when it came to like ranking Volume 2 versus Volume 1, I couldn't do it. They're just next to each other. Right. So technically, I rank Volume 1 over 2, but it feels like just an emotional extension of the first film.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's going to do it for us, ladies and
gentlemen.
Hold
on. We do need to talk. Has there been a turkey this year? Have we had any? Is there been a movie that's just been like, ugh?
Yeah, Triple X fucking 2.
No,
garbage.
We all loved that film.
What?
We all loved it, Darren. That was not the worst.
Did you see my Letterboxd rating? That shit got a half a star, I think. I was being nice.
No. You like Triple X. I was there. You were having a good time.
Dude.
So that's your worst film of the year?
I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's the worst, but of course, my most disappointed has to be Fate of the Furious. I guess I can't even say it's worse, but I didn't really find a lot in Ghost in the Shell for me personally.
So that was not good. I really dislike the Bye Bye Man. We've talked about that a couple times. Okay. I really, really dislike that. However, the shittiest movie I've seen this year, I just saw right before Guardians, was The Circle.
Oh, okay.
I hated The Circle.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw your 1-star review.
1.5. 1.5 stars. I found that to be such a condescending and really choppily made. Like, the editing was bizarre to me, and there's some awkward performances. But I'm so glad I saw it because you were right, Darren. Bill Paxton, he made the movie worth it,
dude. Right?
So even though I rated it a 1.5 stars, I'm so glad I saw it because it is a phenomenal, gripping performance. He's barely in the movie, but he is so good, and it is crushing.
Yes,
that he is not on this planet anymore.
Oh man, he was so. When he first came up on the screen, did you just go, "Oh"?
Well, I did. I was like, you had prepared me for it, so I knew he was going to be there. But honestly, it was watching him over the course of that movie, that performance he gives. It's just so committed, and he is that character.
Yep. Live by Night was a disappointing
film. I was
film.
just looking at that one. I gave it 2.5 stars. I felt nothing about it.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to Live by Night. That one was lackluster for me.
I also saw on Netflix, they just put out Casting Jean Benet, and I found that to be incredibly exploitative and trashy and garbage. I really, really hate it.
We saw as we've said it before, we saw a shit ton of great movies at Lost Weekend. What else came out this year that was... John Wick Chapter 2. Everyone...
I like that.
You like that one a lot?
Yeah, that's in my top 10 so far.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Of movies that have been out, but my first time watching this year, Magic Mike XXL, that was a surprise for me for my homework.
Oh, nice.
My favorite new to me movie was Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury.
Yeah.
What about All That Jazz? I fucking loved All That Jazz. We just watched that on
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday with
Secret Society of Filmmasons.
Blah, blah, blah. That what you said.
And the night before, we saw the new 4K restoration of Michael Mann's Heat. Damn, that movie is so good.
We saw Sorcerer on the big screen so far this year. So yeah, we've been having a great year in the movie theater. It's only freaking May. Again, we're looking forward to the summer months. Check out our top 5 of those. We got those coming up, and then in the fall, we got a bunch of cool shit coming out.
What's next week? Next week's Alien Covenant.
That's been getting some good to decent reviews.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone shitting on that movie yet. So as long as those reviews aren't going anywhere near Prometheus territory, then I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Just don't give me another Prometheus. So I'm looking forward to that. And then after that, we got what?
Pirates 5, Baywatch.
Those are movies.
You're not looking forward to your boy, The Rock?
I'm gonna watch him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch him.
Yeah, I'm.
And then what? And then we're in like
June
territory.
Wonder Woman.
Oh yes, I'm excited. I haven't watched the final trailer. And then we're into Spider-Man territory with Homecoming.
Then Comic-Con.
And
then the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, why y'all keep shitting on the Dark Tower?
I like the trailer.
I like the trailer. The movie might suck ass, but at least I got that 2-minute trailer to watch over and over again.
Okay, guys.
Wow, Brad. All right, so you can follow the podcast. Let us know what your top 5 films so far of 2017 have been at ItModcast on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You can follow Brian Young, the Turtle Dork, at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram. And he sometimes maybe never uses his letterbox at the Turtle Dork.
Yeah.
Wife Dork is a more diligent social media-er.
I'm trying, guys.
She's trying. At least she's putting forth the effort at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
And see me Sunday at the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester for the screening of Head.
Tickets are still on sale, so please come out, watch that film with us. Watch Lisa host that expertly, and then have a discussion about that film, because it's going to require some explanation, and Lisa will provide
I will more
answers.
than happily tell you everything that movie's about. I've considered it.
And then Brad is at Malthork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. He's hosting Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid on the 21st of May. Tickets are on sale for that one at the Alamo in Winchester. $7 a piece at 5 p.m. And so come check that out. I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, sitting next to Brian, who is hosting The Gray on the 28th of May at the Alamo in Winchester. Tickets are on sale for that one as well. You can find me on social media at the Disco Dork. Thank you all for listening, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go see King Arthur, because Guy Ritchie is the shit. And until next time.